Chapter 1. The divorce papers across the tableau room was too quiet for a marriage to end. Just the faint hum of the air conditioner and the ticking of the wall clock that suddenly felt too loud across the polished mahogany table. Isabella sat like a goddess sculpted from ice, her posture perfect, her diamond earrings catching the light. Her eyes, once warm, now cold enough to cut glass. She slid a folder across the table. "Sign it, Ethan." I didn't touch it. I just stared at the gold band on her finger. The same ring she swore she'd never take off. "Isabella," I said quietly, "you're serious about this?" Her tone didn't waver. "It's over. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I laughed under my breath, though nothing about it was funny. "Harder? You're divorcing your husband of for years like you're signing a business contract." "That's exactly what this is," she said. "A contract that expired." The words hit harder than any slap. I was the man who once built her empire from the ground up, the one who stayed up nights fixing numbers in her company's financials, the man who ignored his own ambitions just to support hers. And now, here she was, CEO of Vance Group, the youngest in the city's history, telling me I'd become obsolete. "Who's he?" I asked finally. Her eyes flickered, but only for a second. "You don't need to know." That was answer enough. I could feel the weight of humiliation pressing on my chest. The memories of us laughing over cheap takeout, dreaming about success together, felt like a cruel joke now. I leaned back in my chair. "I helped you become who you are, Isabella. Don't forget that." "I didn't," she said, her voice soft but cold. "That's why I'm giving you a generous settlement." "Generous?" I repeated, almost amused. "You think I care about your money?" Her eyes hardened. "Then what do you want, Ethan?" I stared right at her. "I want to know when you stop loving me." She looked away, and that silence told me everything. The clock ticked. The folder stayed between us. Finally, I picked up the pen and signed. My signature looked strange, shaky, foreign, as if it belonged to someone else. When I slid the papers back, she whispered, "You'll thank me someday." I stood. "No, Isabella. You'll be the one begging for my forgiveness." Her lips parted, but I didn't wait to hear her reply. I walked out of her office, each step heavy, every breath sharp. The staff looked at me with pity, pretending to be busy. They all knew the CEO had just divorced her pathetic husband, but what they didn't know was that the man walking away would come back stronger. And when he did, the cold, untouchable Isabella Vance would be the one crawling back. Chapter to the man she threw away. The sound of rain hit the pavement like shattered glass. As I stepped out of Vance Tower, it was poetic, in a sick way. The sky crying for me when I couldn't. I didn't have an umbrella, just my suit, drenched and heavy, and a heart that felt the same. I hailed a cab, but as I sat inside, the driver glanced at me through the mirror. "You okay, sir?" I looked at my reflection, tired eyes. No wedding ring. Rain streaks down my face that weren't all rain. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." He didn't press further. Good. I couldn't talk about it. Not yet. When I reached my apartment, it felt smaller than ever. For walls, a desk, a half-packed box of my things from Isabella's penthouse. My life had shrunk to a single room. I stood by the window, watching the city lights blur through the rain. That city once felt like ours. Now it was hers alone. The phone buzzed on the counter. A message from Liam, my best friend and former colleague. "Heard what happened. You good?" I typed back, "I'm fine." 3 dots appeared. Then, bullshit. "Meet me at Blackstone Bar. Now." The bar was warm, noisy, alive. Everything I wasn't. Liam waved me over, his usual confident grin replaced with concern. "Man, she really did it?" he asked, sliding a whiskey toward me. "Signed and sealed," I said, downing it in one go. He whistled low. "After everything you did for her company? Damn, Ethan, that's cold." I let out a hollow laugh. She always said emotions had no place in business. Guess marriage was just another deal to her. Liam leaned back, frowning. "You still love her?" I didn't answer, because the truth was, yes, even after she broke me, humiliated me, replaced me, A part of me still did, and I hated myself for it. She's seeing someone else, Liam said carefully, watching my reaction. I froze. Who? He hesitated. Rumor says it's Adrian Cole, her company's new CFO, Adrian Cole. The same man I had recommended to her 6 months ago. The same man who'd smiled in my face while stabbing me in the back. I laughed bitterly. Perfect. My replacement isn't just sleeping in my bed. He's sitting in my old office too. Liam's voice dropped. You could fight back, you know. Start something of your own. You're the brains behind Vance Group's growth. Everyone knows that. I stared at him. You think I could go up against her? He smirked. I think you could destroy her if you wanted to. Something flickered inside me. Not anger. Not hate, but focus. I'd spent years building Isabella's empire. Maybe it was time to build one of my own. The night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk, staring at an empty notepad, rain still hitting the window. And for the first time since signing those papers, I didn't feel broken. I felt hungry for success, for redemption, for justice. I whispered to myself, you made me pathetic, Isabella. But that ends now. When the morning sun hit the window, I already had a plan forming. She took everything from me, but she also taught me how to play her game. And this time, I wasn't playing to survive. I was playing to win. Chapter 3: The Rise of the Forgotten Husband. People say rock bottom is the end. But for me, it became the blueprint. I spent the next week doing nothing but planning. No sleep, no distractions, just notebooks filled with numbers, connections, and strategies the same way I helped Isabella build Vance Group. I would build something stronger, smarter, mine. I called it Eligia's Holdings, a name no one had heard before. But soon everyone would. Liam leaned over my cluttered desk one night, eyeing my scribbles. You're really going through with this? I didn't look up. I'm done being her shadow. He smirked. That's my guy. The Ethan I knew didn't belong behind anyone. Correction, I said quietly. The old Ethan was too loyal. The new one learns from mistakes. He raised his glass. To your rise, brother, and her downfall. I started reaching out to old contacts, investors who once praised my work but only saw Isabella as the face of it. Now, with her empire stretched thin and whispers of internal chaos, they were willing to listen. When I spoke, I didn't sound like the desperate husband they remembered. I sounded like a man reborn. By the end of the month, Eligia's Holdings had secured 2 major partnerships. One of them with a company that used to be Isabella's biggest client. I could almost hear her fury from across the city. A month later, I ran into Adrian Cole at a corporate charity event. He looked smug in his tailored suit, the kind of man who thought success could hide insecurity. Ethan, he greeted, that fake grin plastered on his face. Didn't expect to see you here. Heard you've been keeping busy. Busy building something real, I said, sipping my drink. Not just living off someone else's empire. His smile faltered. Careful. That sounds bitter. I smirked. No, just honest. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. You should move on. Isabella's happy now. You should be too. I met his gaze. Tell her I said congratulations. But she might want to look into her company's next quarterly report. Numbers don't lie. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't answer. I just walked away. That was the moment I realized I didn't need revenge through anger. Success would hurt more than any words ever could. 2 weeks later, a notification popped on my phone. A financial news alert. Vance Group stock dropped 7% after major client switches to new competitor, Eligia's Holdings. I laughed quietly. It had begun. The night, as I sat on my balcony overlooking the city, I thought of her, Isabella Vance, the woman who thought I'd stay broken. The wind was cold, but for the first time in months, I felt alive. She wanted to erase me from her world. Instead, I was becoming the one thing she couldn't ignore. The next morning, Liam called, excitement in his voice. Bro, you're trending. People are calling you the ghost builder, the genius who built Vance Group and now its rival. I smiled faintly. Good. Let them talk. He chuckled. You realize she's gonna call you soon, right? I leaned back, looking at the skyline. Let her. I'll answer when she's the one asking for help. Chapter 4. When the Queen starts to fully started with whispers. Rumors that Vance Group, the Golden Empire Isabella ruled, was slipping. I didn't need to read the reports. The tremor in her company's market presence spoke for itself. The woman who once sat across the mahogany table, untouchable and cold, was now being questioned in every boardroom across the city. Liam threw the latest financial paper on my desk. 3 clients down, investors nervous, stocks plummeting, he said with a grin. You really did it. I glanced at the headline. Vance Group faces sudden market shift after competitors' rapid expansion. I smiled faintly. No, Liam. She did it to herself. I just gave her a mirror. He laughed. Still poetic, man. You're the ghost she tried to bury. But even as he joked, I couldn't ignore the heaviness in my chest. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about her. 2 days later, my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a name I hadn't seen since the divorce. Isabella. For a moment, I just stared at it. My heart didn't race. Not like before. It just beat steady, calm, controlled. I answered, hello. There was silence on the other end. Then her voice, softer than I remembered. Ethan. She said my name like it hurt her to say it. I heard you've been busy. She added carefully. Building something of my own. I said, you know how it is. A small exhale. I didn't call to talk about business. Then why did you call, Isabella? There was a pause. The kind of silence that used to mean she was choosing her words like weapons. I wanted to see you, she said finally. I almost laughed. You want to see me? The pathetic husband you threw away. Her tone sharpened. Don't do that, Ethan. Do what? Twist everything. I leaned back, smirking to myself. You started the twisting, Isabella. I just learned the dance. She was quiet again. Then, softer, almost broken. Meet me for coffee, please. When I saw her 2 days later, she didn't look like the woman I divorced. Her perfect posture was there, but her eyes, those sharp blue eyes, looked tired. Still running your empire? I asked as I sat across from her. She forced a faint smile. Trying to. I stirred my coffee. You're not used to losing. Neither are you, she replied quickly. That's why we work so well. Until we didn't. I looked at her, really looked, and for a second, I saw the woman I once fell in love with. The woman who used to fall asleep on my shoulder while we planned our future. Why now? I asked quietly. Why reach out? She hesitated. Because I miss us. I wanted to believe her. But behind the confession, I saw something else. Fear. Or, I said slowly, because your company is bleeding and you need the one man who can save it. Her face stiffened. That's not true. I leaned forward. You're too proud to admit it, Isabella. But deep down, you know what's happening. You built your kingdom on me. And when you cut me out, it started to collapse. She looked away, blinking fast. You think you're that important? No, I said calmly. I know I was. She stood abruptly. You've changed. I smiled faintly. No, I just stopped begging. She stared at me for a long moment before whispering. You're not the man I remember. I stood to. Good. That's the point. When I walked out of that cafe, I didn't look back. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not between us. Not yet. Chapter 5. Her empire crumbles. My name, Rise Bauer, smells different when it's yours. It's cleaner, sharper, almost addictive. A month ago, I was the man people whispered about. The ex-husband of CEO Isabella Vance, the pathetic one she left behind. Now, those same people were fighting for a meeting with me. Ethan Miller, founder and CEO of Miller Dynamics. Our stock had tripled into weeks. Investors who once bowed to Vance Group were now lining up outside my glass tower. And the irony? Half of them were defectors from Isabella's empire. Liam burst into my office, waving a folder. She lost the Kensington deal, he said, almost gleeful. That's 3 major contracts gone this quarter. She's drowning, man. I took the folder and flipped through it. Her losses were my gains. Almost poetic. Send flowers, I said calmly. He blinked. Flowers. Black roses, I clarified. With a card that says condolences on your loss. Liam grinned. Cold. I like it. But when he left, I leaned back in my chair, staring out at the skyline. Miami had never looked so small before. This city used to belong to her. Now it was mine. Still, a part of me wondered how she was handling it. Was she furious? Or was she scared? Was she sitting in that penthouse, trying to figure out when she lost control of her empire? Or of me? The answer came sooner than I expected. At midnight, my phone buzzed. A known number. But I knew. Isabella, I said quietly after answering. Her voice was low, trembling slightly. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Depends on what this is. My company is bleeding because of you. Correction, I said. Your company is bleeding because of your arrogance, she exhaled sharply. You think you're better than me now? No, I said. I am better than you now. There was silence. Then, almost brokenly, I didn't think you had this in you. You never looked close enough. I replied. I heard her breathing, uneven, ragged. The sound of control slipping from the woman who once commanded rooms with a single glance. You're not the man I married, she whispered. No, I said coldly. That man died the day you handed me divorce papers. The next morning, headlines exploded. Vance Group shares fall 14% as Miller Dynamics secures key government contract. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. Success was his own language, and she could read every word. But that night, when I left my office, I saw her. She was standing beside my car, in the rain. Her expensive coat soaked through, her hair a mess. The same woman who once looked down on me from glass towers now waiting in the dark. Isabella, I said slowly. You shouldn't be here. She stepped closer, eyes glinting under the streetlight. I came to congratulate you. On what? Your victory? Her lips twisted bitterly. You wanted me on my knees. Well, here I am. My throat tightened. For a moment, I almost believed she meant it. But the pride in her eyes was still there, cracked, but not gone. Careful, I said softly. If you keep kneeling, you might start liking it. She flinched, then looked up at me, voice trembling. Why are you doing this to me, Ethan? Because you taught me how, I said. I opened the car door, but she grabbed my wrist. Her fingers were cold. You'll regret this, she said quietly. I leaned close, so our faces were inches apart. No, Isabella, you already do. As I drove away, I saw her in the rearview mirror, standing motionless, rain cascading down her face. For a second, I almost turned back. But mercy was a luxury I no longer afforded. Chapter 6. The CEO who can't let go. 3 weeks have passed since that night in the rain. 3 weeks since Isabella stood by my car, shaking like the world was ending. And in those 3 weeks, she called me 17 times. I didn't answer once. She used to ignore my existence. Now she couldn't stop chasing it. Funny how karma works. At first, I thought she'd give up. Isabella Vance wasn't the type to beg twice. But she didn't stop. Emails, private messages, even a bouquet sent to my office with a handwritten note. Let's talk. Just once. Please. The woman who never used the word please was now writing it with shaky ink. Liam noticed the bouquet first. Your ex-wife's losing it, he said, dropping it on my desk. Want me to toss it? I stared at the note for a long time before saying, no, keep it, he blinked. You planning to frame her apology? Something like that, I murmured. The night, I found myself scrolling through old photos. Isabella and I, back when everything was simple, when her laugh still reached her eyes. Before ambition turned her into marble. There was one picture I couldn't look away from. US at the beach. She was barefoot, teasing me for getting sunburned. I'd forgotten what that felt like, being loved by her. Then I remembered how easily she threw it away. And whatever softness lingered inside me hardened again. The next morning, she showed up at my office. No appointment, no warning. Just walked past security like she still owned the place, Ethan. Her voice trembled when she said my name. Not out of fear, but something worse. Regret. I didn't look up from my laptop. You're trespassing. Please, she said quietly. I just need 5 minutes. I glanced at her. The once perfect CEO looked exhausted, pale, thinner. Her usual polish replaced by something raw. She'd lost weight. Probably sleep too. 5 minutes, I said. Then you leave. She took a deep breath. I made a mistake. I almost laughed. You'll have to be more specific. Her lips trembled. The divorce. You everything. I thought I wanted freedom. But all I feel now is emptiness. I leaned back, arms crossed. And you think saying sorry will fix that? No, she whispered. But maybe it'll stop me from losing the only person who ever truly cared about me. That silence between us was thick, full of every word we never said when we were still married. And damn it, for a split second, I wanted to believe her. But I remembered the coldness in her voice the day she handed me those papers. The arrogance, the dismissal. I wouldn't be her fool twice. You're only sorry, I said slowly, because you can't control me anymore. Her eyes widened. That's not true, isn't it? I stood, walking around the desk until I was inches from her. You built walls so high no one could touch you. You made love a transaction. You broke us. And now you're crawling back because you finally realized power doesn't keep you warm at night. Her voice cracked. Stop. I leaned closer. No, Isabella. You stop. Stop pretending you still have control. She looked like she wanted to slap me. But instead, her hands shook. Her pride and pain were at war. And for the first time, she was losing. Do you hate me that much? She whispered. I don't hate you, I said softly. I outgrew you. When she left, the office felt colder. I watched her walk away through the glass, her heels clicking like the echoes of a dying empire. Part of me pitied her, but mostly, I pitied the man I used to be, the one who still would have run after her. That night, my phone buzzed again. A message from her. You'll never be free of me, Ethan. Not really. And as I stared at the screen, I realized something chilling. She wasn't wrong. Chapter 7. Her obsession turns dangerous. He thought it would end after the day. After I told Isabella I'd outgrown her, I expected silence. But obsession doesn't fade. It It started small. A shadow outside my apartment. A familiar perfume lingering in the elevator. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. But the unease was real, crawling under my skin like electricity. 2 nights later, I found a note slipped under my door. You think you've moved on, but I still know you better than anyone else. No name, no signature. But I didn't need one. Her handwriting was burned into my memory. I should have ignored it. I should have thrown it away. Instead, I folded it, slid it into the drawer beside my bed, and stared at it for hours. Why? Because part of me still wanted to understand her. Because the ghost of the woman I once loved wouldn't stop whispering through her madness. The next morning, Liam burst into my office, face pale. Ethan, you need to see this. He handed me his phone. A tabloid headline glared back at me. CEO Isabella Vance spotted outside ex-husband's apartment. Rumors of reconciliation? There it was. A photo of Isabella standing near my building at midnight, half hidden behind her car, looking right at the camera, as if she wanted to be caught. She's lost it, Liam muttered. You should file a restraining order. I didn't answer. I just stared at that photo. Her face looked different. No makeup, no pride. Just desperation. The same woman who once signed a divorce paper, without blinking, was now chasing the ghost of what she destroyed. That evening, I went to the rooftop of my building, hoping the cold wind would clear my thoughts. But then I heard the door creak open behind me. Ethan, she said softly. My body stiffened. I didn't turn around. You shouldn't be here. I had to see you. Isabella, she stepped closer. Do you ever think about us? About what we could have been, If I hadn't, don't, I said sharply. Don't rewrite history now that it hurts. She flinched, then laughed bitterly. You think I'm rewriting it? I live in it. Every single day. Her voice broke. You were the only person who ever saw me for who I really was. And I killed that. I killed you. For a moment, the silence was unbearable. Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with obsession. I can't breathe without you, Ethan. She whispered. I see you everywhere. Hear your voice when I close my eyes. I'm losing my mind. I turned, finally meeting her gaze. And for the first time, I didn't see power or cruelty. I saw fear. Pure, consuming fear. You need help, I said quietly. Not me. Her hand reached out, trembling. Then stay until I'm better. Please. I stepped back. You don't want healing, Isabella. You want control. Her face twisted, rage and heartbreak colliding. You can't just walk away from me. You were nothing before me. She screamed. I didn't raise my voice. I was nothing because of you, I said. Now, I finally know who I am without you. Her breathing itched. And then, like a switch flip, she smiled, slow, chilling. Then maybe I'll just remind you, she whispered. Remind you how it felt to be mine. Before I could react, she leaned in, her perfume suffocatingly sweet, and pressed her lips against my cheek. Not tender, not loving, possessive. Then she walked away, leaving that scent and her madness hanging in the air. I didn't sleep that night. Her words echoed in my head like a curse. You'll never be free of me. And as I stared at the ceiling, I realized she was right. Freedom wasn't walking away. It was surviving her memory. Asterisk Chapter 8. The collapse of her empire can destroy a man, but you can't erase him. That's what Isabella forgot. And now, the cracks in her empire were finally starting to show. It began with whispers in the boardroom. Her investors were pulling out. Stocks dipped. Clients vanished. The woman who once ruled the corporate world with an iron smile was now standing in front of cameras, pretending not to bleed. Liam dropped a stack of reports on my desk. Vance Corporation's crashing fast. Anonymous sources leaked evidence of fraud in their subsidiary accounts. I didn't respond right away, because I knew exactly where that anonymous source came from. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted balance. She buried me once. This time, I was simply handing her the shovel. 3 days later, she called. I didn't answer. The next morning, she showed up at my office again, escorted by security this time. Her once flawless posture was gone. Her voice cracked when she spoke. Ethan, please stop this. I set my pen down and looked at her calmly. Stop what? You know what? She snapped. The leaks. The rumors. The investors leaving. I don't control rumors, I said evenly. But I guess people are just seeing who you really are. She slammed her hands on the desk. You're destroying me. I met her eyes. Steady. Cold. No. Isabella, you're finally facing yourself. Her breath hitched. You think this will make you happy? Watching me fall. I shook my head. It's not about happiness. It's about truth. She laughed then, the kind of laugh that sounds like it hurts. You want truth? Fine. I never stopped loving you. There. That's your truth. Her voice broke on the word love. I wake up every day thinking about you. I can't eat. I can't think. And now you're taking everything I built. I cut her off. You built it on lies, on ambition, on breaking people who cared about you, including me. She pressed her palms to her face. I didn't mean to lose you, Ethan. I just wanted to be enough for the first time. She wasn't the CEO or the betrayer. She was just a broken woman drowning in her own success. And I felt something shift inside me. Not pity, not love. Just release. Do you know what hurts the most? I said quietly. It's that I spent years trying to prove I was worthy of you. But now, watching you like this, I realize you were never worth me. Her shoulders trembled. Tears slipped through the cracks of her pride. She whispered, I don't know who I am without you. I stood. Then maybe it's time you find out. She looked at me, one last, shattered glance, and walked out. And just like that, The storm she built around me began to fade. A week later, the headlines were everywhere. Vance Corporation faces legal inquiry. After financial scandal, CEO Isabella Vance resigns amid controversy. Disappeared from the public eye after that. Some said she left the country. Others said she checked into a private facility. I didn't care to know which was true, because for the first time in years, I could breathe again. One night, I walked past the old restaurant where we used to go every Friday after work. The lights were still the same, warm, soft, romantic. But I didn't stop. Instead, I whispered to myself, "Goodbye, Isabella." And for the first time, it didn't hurt. Chapter 9. The price of freedom. They say freedom feels like peace. But for me, it felt like emptiness at first. After Isabella's empire fell, the world moved on quickly. Headlines faded. Investors shifted their loyalty. And I, the man once labeled as her pathetic husband, became the CEO of a thriving new company built from my own name. Funny, isn't it? The world applauds success but forgets the scars behind it. Some nights, I still found myself looking at the empty space beside me in bed. It wasn't love I missed. It was the ghost of routine. The way she used to hum while checking her emails at midnight. The scent of her perfume lingering on my shirts. But those memories didn't hurt anymore. They just existed, like echoes from another lifetime. One afternoon, Liam walked into my office holding a letter. "No sender," he said. "Just your name on the envelope." I opened it slowly. The handwriting was delicate, almost unsure. "Ethan, I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I finally understand. Power means nothing when your heart is empty. You were the only thing real in my life, and I traded it for noise. Wherever you are, I hope you're free, even if I'll never be." Isabella. There was no return address, no way to reply, just her words, fragile, human, and heavy with truth. Liam asked quietly, "You okay?" I smiled faintly. For the first time, "Yeah, I think I am." Then I placed the letter in my drawer, not as a wound, but as a reminder. Months passed, the seasons changed, and life, real, peaceful, unremarkable life, began to fill the spaces where pain once lived. I spent mornings drinking coffee by the window, not thinking about what I'd lost, but what I'd survived. Every breath felt lighter, every day quieter. One evening, as the city lights shimmered below, I found myself back at that same restaurant, the one we used to visit. I didn't go inside. I just watched the people laughing, clinking glasses, living without ghosts. And for the first time, I didn't feel like an outsider looking in. Maybe freedom isn't about forgetting. Maybe it's about remembering without pain. I took a deep breath, the night air cool against my skin, and whispered, "I forgive you, Isabella," not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. The next day, I got a news alert on my phone. Isabella Vance confirmed, sighted in a small coastal town in Spain, reportedly living a quiet life, away from business and media. I stared at the photo, blurry, distant. She looked ordinary. No makeup, no power suit. Just a woman walking along the beach, barefoot, holding her shoes in one hand. She looked free. I smiled, softly. Maybe we both finally found what we were chasing all along. Not love, not power, but the version of ourselves we lost trying to please each other. That night, before bed, I closed my laptop and stood by the window. The city lights painting reflections on the glass. Once, she'd been my entire world. Now, she was just a story I lived and survived. And for the first time in a long time, I whispered to the empty room, "Thank you for letting me go." Because sometimes, freedom doesn't come when you leave someone. It comes when you stop needing to win. Chapter 10. The woman who finally created Isabella Vance for the first time in years. I woke up without hearing the sound of my phone. No assistant, no shareholders, no board meetings, just waves. Spain's morning sun spilled across the balcony of my little seaside apartment, a place with peeling paint and mismatched furniture. 3 years ago, I would have burned the building down rather than live here. Now, it felt like home. I poured myself coffee and stared at the ocean. The air smelled of salt and forgiveness. On the table lay a single newspaper, the one I'd sworn I'd stopped buying. The headline read, "Ethan Miller named Forbes' fastest rising entrepreneur of the year." My hands trembled slightly. I traced his picture with my thumb. He looked different, stronger, older, lighter. The sadness that once clung to him was gone. He had finally become everything I told myself I didn't need him to be. After the divorce, I'd thrown myself into work, desperate to prove that I hadn't made a mistake. But every deal I closed felt hollow. Every victory tasted bitter. It wasn't until the scandal broke, Caleb's exposure, the company's collapse, the investors pulling out, that I finally stopped running. For the first time, there was no one left to command, no one left to blame. Just me and the mirror. And when I looked, I didn't see a CEO. I saw a woman who had destroyed the only person who ever looked at her like she was human. I left everything behind. My company, my penthouse, my empire. Even Chloe told me I was insane. Maybe I was, but sanity had never brought me peace. Now, I live quietly. I paint. I walk barefoot on the beach. Sometimes, the locals recognize me, whispering, "Is that the Vance woman?" I pretend not to hear. But sometimes, when the tide's high and the wind is soft, I whisper his name. Ethan. It doesn't hurt anymore. It just echoes. Yesterday, a letter arrived, forwarded from my old assistant. It was short. One line. "You once said you'd never regret anything, Isabella. I hope now you can prove yourself wrong. E.M. No bitterness, no anger. Just truth. Quiet, simple, final." I cried. For the first time in my adult life, I cried until my chest hurt and my body shook. The tears weren't for him. They were for the woman I used to be. Later that night, I walked down to the beach. The water was cold, the sky full of stars. I took off my shoes and let the waves crawl up to my knees, and I whispered, "I'm sorry," not to him. He didn't need my apology. To the universe, maybe. To the version of me that once believed love was weakness. When I finally looked up, I saw a single shooting star cut across the sky. I laughed softly. "Too late," I said. But maybe it wasn't, because at that moment, I realized something. Ethan hadn't just freed himself from me. He'd freed me from myself. A few weeks later, I finished a painting, an abstract swirl of blues and golds. It reminded me of him. Strong, steady, untouchable. I sent it anonymously to his company's headquarters with a small note on the back. For the man who taught me what strength really means. No signature. He would know. He always did. I stood by the window, watching the sunset turn the sea to fire. For the first time, my heart didn't ache. It just beat, steady, calm, alive. Maybe that's what love really was all along. Not possession. Not victory. Not control. Just letting someone go and hoping the wind carries your apology far enough for them to feel it.